Good evening and welcome to Just the News. My colleague Amita is currently in Udupi in Kundapur reporting on the hijab story where students are not being allowed inside of school because they're wearing hijab. So she's there right now. So I'm standing in for her to bring you the news. In fact, when we begin, let's go straight to that story to give you updates on what the Karnataka government is now saying. The Chief Minister of Karnataka, Baswaraj Bommai, has made a statement saying that students in junior colleges have to adhere to the state government's rules regarding uniforms until the issue of wearing headscarves in class is addressed by the Karnataka High Court. Remember, Karnataka High Court is hearing that story starting Tuesday, which is tomorrow. According to the Indian Express, the Chief Minister said, and I quote, "Since the matter is in court, I do not want to discuss it. For now, instructions on uniforms have been issued in a circular on the 5th of February. It should be followed until the High Court decides the matter. Exams are coming up. Students must follow the circular and maintain peace," end quote. Now, what was in the circular that he mentions? The State Education Department issued an order banning clothes that, and I quote, "disturb equality, integrity, and public order," end quote, in schools and colleges. Now, one assumes that they are referring to the headscarf as such clothes, but they are also referring to the saffron scarves that are being worn by those students who are protesting against the hijab. The Education Department has said that the government schools should follow uniform as stipulated by the state government, while students of private universities should adhere to school dress as directed by the management of the school. Clothes which disturb equality, integrity, and public order have been banned. The government on Saturday invoked the, Section 1332 of the Karnataka Education Act for that particular order. Also on that story, two people have been arrested by Udupi's Kundapur police for allegedly carrying lethal weapons into a protest at the government college over that hijab row. Now, they've been charged with attempted homicide, rioting with deadly weapons, and criminal conspiracy. They were part of a group of 5 people spotted loitering around the protest on Friday. According to ANI, additional SP of Udupi Police has said that 2 have been arrested, 3 are still absconding, and that we're trying to trace them. This is what we know so far. It's come in on ANI and NDTV. I don't normally do this, but breaking with tradition at this point to put out my editorial opinion on this story, specifically because it involves the fundamental rights of students here, specifically young women. Now, the first point is that in many of these cases, the rules of wearing headscarves were allowed as far as the schools were concerned in their admission brochures up until now. The question is, how can the school suddenly change its mind about these rules when the rules were different during admission? The second point, and more importantly, is simply this. There are a lot of people who are uncomfortable with the idea of headscarves because they feel that they are patriarchal and that they oppress the young girls and women in question. If one feels that you want to be able to free these young women from the yoke of patriarchy, one should empower them with an education. Give them an education so that they can go ahead and stand on their own 2 feet and make their own decisions. Empower them with jobs and education and equal opportunity. Denying them an education is the exact opposite of what we should be doing at this point for any young girl in this country, because with an education comes the ability to make one's own decisions, throw off patriarchy, wear whatever you want, choose whatever you want. In order to be able to do that, we need education. To deny young girls education because of what they're wearing, even if you feel that it is oppressive, is the opposite of what we should be doing right now. Moving on to the rest of the news. Taking a look at what's happening on the COVID front, the central government has told the Supreme Court that Aadhaar numbers are not mandatory for COVID vaccines in order to register on the CoWIN portal. This is to benches of Justices Deba Chandrachud and Suryakant, who were informed by the government that there are 9 possible identity documents that can be used: driver's license, PAN card, voter ID, ration card. In order to get a vaccination, you don't have to give your Aadhaar card. This was a plea by one person who said Aadhaar card was being used mandatorily for vaccinations on the portal. The plea has now been disposed of by the Supreme Court. Remember, based on the Supreme Court's Aadhaar judgment, Aadhaar is not supposed to be compulsory in our country. So the argument that it is being made compulsory for COVID vaccines was something that was worrying. Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia has announced that the Drug Controller General of India has given emergency use permission to Russia's single-dose Sputnik Light COVID vaccine in the country. This would be the 9th vaccine granted restricted use approval by the DCGI for adults in this country. Interestingly, though, even though 9 of these vaccinations have been approved, we're only using the first 2, which is the Covishield and Covaxin. The rest of them haven't really been made available. An update right now from Parliament. Union Home Minister Amit Shah speaking in Parliament today about the threat to Asaduddin Owaisi and the gunshots that were fired at his car, has said that he urges him to take the Z-class security that is being offered to him. The minister said, and I quote, "The threat to Owaisi has been reassessed. A bulletproof vehicle and Z-category security has been given to him. But as per verbal information from himself, he has refused to accept it. I request him to accept the security given to him by the central government," end quote. To which Mr. Owaisi has responded, and I quote, "Amit Shah has appealed to me to take the Z security. Owaisi will be safe once Dalits, downtrodden and minorities are safe in this country," end quote. This is according to NDTV. Shots were fired at Owaisi's car on the 3rd of February when he was returning from Uttar Pradesh to Delhi. In other news, the Kerala High Court on Monday granted anticipatory bail to Malyalam actor Dileep in the case of the alleged conspiracy to kill police officers investigating his case back in 2017. The crime branch of the Kerala police registered a case against Dileep and 5 others on the 9th of January for threatening officials who were investigating that case. To give you context, this particular case is about an actor, a woman actor working in Malayalam, Telugu and Tamil films who was allegedly abducted and molested inside a moving car by a group of men who were hired allegedly by Dileep to do so to teach her a lesson. Also, Dera Sauda Chief Gurmeet Ram Rahim Singh, you will remember, has been released on furlough for 21 days from jail, from Haryana's Rohtak district jail on Monday. Furlough is basically like a break or a period of time, like a vacation in which a prisoner is allowed to be absent from the jail and then have to return again temporarily. The 21-day furlough comes 13 days before Punjab goes to polls. And he's a very influential person in Punjab. He also has a significant influence in Uttar Pradesh as well. He will be out of prison until the 27th of February. Remember, he was accused and convicted, found guilty of rape and murder, which is why he is in jail. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison, something that was very difficult to do because of the kind of influence he actually exerts over the states. And now, with the assembly polls right around the corner, the Haryana government has given him a break from jail and has allowed him to exit jail for 21 days at exactly this time. There's a worrying story that has come in on the environment front, specifically for us in India. A new study by the University of Maine has shown that the ice on the glacier on the summit of Mount Everest, which has taken a millennia to form, has shrunk drastically over the last 3 decades because of climate change. According to that research, the formation may have already lost 55 meters or 180 feet of thickness in the last 25 years alone. The lead scientist told National Geographic that at this rate, South Col, which is what the glacier is called, is likely to disappear within a few decades. Carbon dating showed that the top layer of the ice in this particular glacier is 2,000 years old and has been melting in the last 25 years, suggesting that it's thinning more than 80 times faster than it took to form. Now, the Himalayan glaciers are critical as a water source for nearly 2 billion people, specifically in India. Most of North India and our most populous states are fed by rivers that are fed by glaciers in the Himalayan range. So if our Himalayas are melting, it's going to mean, first of all, floods and then drought for many of our states, and that should be very worrying. Taking a quick look at news that's coming in right now across the world, you'll know there are massive protests at this point taking place in Canada. The mayor of Ottawa, Jim Watson, has declared a state of emergency and said his city is completely out of control because the protesters now outnumber the police and they pose a threat to safety of residents in the city. Now, this is the Freedom Convoy. It is a convoy of protesting truckers and other people who are protesting, first of all, the rule that all truckers have to be vaccinated in order to cross the US-Canada border. But the protests have also grown now against, the health restrictions because of COVID and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. The protesters have gathered in downtown Ottawa and they're demanding that all mandates and COVID restrictions be ended completely. An update from Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine's former defense minister has said Russia now has enough troops on the border of Ukraine to seize either the capital or any other city. Moscow's forces do not have enough numbers to take over the entire country at this point. This is according to The Guardian that we're quoting. In an interview to The Guardian, the former defense minister said the situation is now dire. Russia could seize any city in Ukraine if it chooses. They don't have the 200,000 troops needed for a full-scale invasion just yet. The White House has also said on Saturday that Moscow assembled 70% firepower, which gives Vladimir Putin the opportunity of a major military operation in the middle of February. Some good news on the sports front. The Indian men's international cricket team defeated West Indies by 6 wickets in the first ODI to take a 1-0 lead in the 3-test match series on Sunday. The new white ball skipper, Rohit Sharma, hit a 50. India defeated England by 4 wickets in the 2022 Under-19 World Cup to win the Under-19 World Cup for a record-extending 5th time. India was featuring in their 8th Under-19 World Cup final, dismissed England for 189 and chased down that target in 47.4 overs. And a piece of positive news. Remember, we never let you go to bed without some positive news. Researchers of the IIT Roorkee have discovered a 3D structure of bacterial enzyme that can aid the faster breakdown of non-biodegradable plastic. The research was spearheaded by Professor Pravindra Kumar with 5 associates at the Department of Biosciences and Bioengineering at IIT Roorkee. Hopefully this makes a big difference to our challenges on the environment front. That brings us to the end of the news, of Just the News tonight. If you have any feedback for us, do leave it for us at in the comment section. I did, of course, break from tradition and give you my opinion on one story. Is that something that you would like us to continue doing? Let us know. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you a good night.